Okay, next up we have Mariska Kappmeier, who's going to talk about positive contact, overcoming distrust in the police. Can you join me in welcoming Mariska?
Thank you, everybody. So I'm going to talk today about trust in the police as a context for intergroup contact. And the research I present today is parts that coming out of my postdoc, which I did in America. And therefore, when I talk about police relations, I'm talking about the context of Black and white Americans, and not just, so why trust in the police? The following quotation pretty much captures why trust in the police matters. Every time I see a police officer, I get a cold chill. Even if I needed one, I wouldn't call one. That is a quotation of a Black resident of North Carolina, who pretty much shows that for some ethnic groups in America, and not just in America, the police is not perceived as your friend and helper who's out there helping, supporting, and protecting you, but actually more as an oppressive force. And not surprisingly, indeed, research consistently shows that minority members do trust the police less than majority members. Very predominant in the United States, but also we have seen it in Australia among Aborigines, we have seen it in New Zealand among Maoris, we have seen it in Germany among Turks, and we have also seen it in England and most of the Western countries. And that is problematic, because if you do not trust the police, then you also don't get the protections police offers and leaves community more vulnerable. At the same time, because the police is active in the communities, there's ample interaction between the police officers and between the communities themselves. So the question arises, depending on the kind of interaction I have with the police officers, is there actually a way how to ameliorate the perception of distrust into the police? And if so, how could that happen? So the question I'm going to try to address in my study today is like, does an interaction like this, which is probably more negative between a Black citizen with the police, differ from a negative interaction of with a white citizen with the police? And also, like, if we do have experience with positive experience with the police from a minority point of view, does that help to build trust? And again, does it differ if a majority member has positive interaction with the police? To understand trust, I'm approaching a multidimensional model of trust, which I have developed in my previous research. And the reason I do that is because those of you who have worked with trust in the past, you probably noticed that it is a really, really frustrating construct. Because intuitively, we do know what trust is, right? Like, so I can trust the police that they catch the bad guys. As a white majority member, I actually can pretty much trust that they do so. However, as a minority member, they don't have the luxury about that one, and they maybe are more concerned that the police is out there shooting them, meaning that the dimension of security might be more relevant from a minority point of view. The police in New Zealand does quite well. It seems quite trustworthy, and mainly because it seems to be less corrupted. So integrity all of a sudden is a driving dimension which allows the police to be seen trustworthy. But then, like, again, as a white member, like, the police tends to look like me. So I definitely can trust the police based on the perception of compatibility-based trust. And the last dimension, which is also out there, is compassion, that the police actually cares about my community. So these 5 dimensions I use to understand how the overall trust of the police is shaped from a minority perspective and from the majority perspective. The study we have conducted, we did it in the context of Boston, and I had amazing research assistants who spent months in those 3 neighborhoods, Mattapan, South Boston, and Hyde Park. We chose deliberately those 3 neighborhoods because all of them are suburbs of Boston. They differ in their racial composition. Mattapan is mainly Black, South Boston is mainly white, and Hyde Park is mixed. What they have the same is they have the same perception of police activity, and the police officer patrolling the streets are all trained through the same institution because they're all part of the Boston police force. And most importantly, they're very comparable in their social economic status. And that is one of the driving moderator of trust, like the higher the social academic status, the more you trust. So we wanted to control for that in a natural setting. And those are just quickly some descriptive data. You can see that we are replicating the national patterns. It's like the general trust we measured on a scale from 0 to 100. And you can see the stark difference of the Black participants in comparison to the white participants. And it does, like when we break it down to the different 5 trust dimensions, which we also measured, the pattern repeats. Blacks participants trusted less than whites. In our survey, we have also asked them if our participants, as they had contact with the police, and how satisfied they were with the police in this context, And again, the pattern repeats, like we asked for direct contact, like if they had contact with the police. And we also ask if they had extended contact, someone of the community had contact with the police. Again, same pattern, white participants overall quite satisfied with the police contact, Black participants, not so much. So now the question is, does the satisfaction with the police predict more trust in the police? And if so, do the 5 dimensions help us to understand more how this trust is shaped? And this is the data for the Black participants who did have direct contact with the police in the past 12 months. And indeed, if there was a positive interaction with the police, it does positive predicted the overall trust, but it also predicted a more positive integrity-based trust, compassion-based trust, compatibility-based trust, and security-based trust. That becomes important when we talk about the majority in a second. And we do have an indirect effect that this overall trust, that the police has been seen more trustworthy based on the satisfaction, is actually mediated by compatibility-based trust. When we had the sense, the Black participants had the sense that the police are like us, we could relate to them on a personal level, that helps to trust them more. We then also were interested to ask, like, so what is about extended contact? What if it's not yourself, but someone you have known? How does that impact the overall trust? And we kind of repeat the same patterns, but this time extended trust, extended satisfaction, satisfaction with extended contact with the police predicted positively overall trust and all 5 trust dimensions, including the integrity-based trust. That means that if your belief has been seen as be honest, like the past honest have been told that they were honest, they were well-behaved, that helped to shape the trust. If we repeat that for whites, the pattern is not there. Positive contact for whites also predict more trust, but we don't need a more complex model of 5 dimensions. None of those interactions were, none of those passes were significant for direct trust and for extended trust. And that is consistent with past findings that minorities who have distrust relations need a more nuanced understanding of the trust. And it's not just enough to have particular interaction, it has to be compatibility-based and integrity-based trust. And and as my last point, I really need to thank my data collection team, because without those amazing individuals, we would not have gotten the data we got. Thank you.
Okay, time for a single question. Who had their hand up first? Can you 2 fight it out? Linda.
Thank you, Matthias, so much for that. So coming from the US, we know that Black people have a lot of contact with police. You know the question. They have a lot of negative contact with police. Did you happen to have any measures separating out positive versus negative contact?
No, but we just ask them on satisfaction. So we do see, like, so people, if they had been, it was a single measure. So if people had less satisfaction with trust, then they would have, like, we would have expected like a different trend. So pretty much, if you're high on satisfaction, then you also have more trust. That is what we've seen.
I'm asking about contact.
Oh, contact.
Do they have positive contact as well as negative contact? Because I suspect Blacks would report more negative contact with police.
No, but what we do have, we measured who initiated the contact. And not surprisingly, 60% of the Black participants was initiated by the police, and 60% of the white initiated the contact. I'm gonna throw that in the analysis afterwards.
That sounds great. Can you join me in thanking Mariska?